Now, Anthony Albanese, Australia's current Prime Minister, or more commonly known and called as simply Albo in Australia. Okay, quite looking at his chart. Okay, well, the details I have of him is that he was born in Australia on the 2nd of March 1963. Unfortunately, we don't have his time of birth, so we have to make do. So, well, what does this mean for a reading? It means 25% of the information is missing. So we have to work with what we've got. So ending up, we will only be able to read 3 pillars out of the possible 4. Now, the thing is, sometimes the hour, the time of birth, and which would produce the 4th pillar, changes the chart. And a lot of times it doesn't, but sometimes it does change the chart. So with doing readings without the time of birth, you do run that risk. So with that, so we need to keep that in mind. So we just do the reading with what we've got. So from his date of birth, what we're able to derive is his year pillar is yin water rabbit. His month pillar is yin wood rabbit. Again, 2 rabbits, interestingly. And his day pillar is yang wood dragon. So 2 wood, 1 water, 2 rabbits, and 1 dragon. Don't know what the 4th pillar is, but hey, like I say, we don't have the time of birth, so this is what we have to work with. So from that, we can tell that his chart type is what we call a dominant chart, meaning wood is the primary element there. And so going with the flow, that's what he likes. That's what he likes. He likes wood. And what supports wood? It's water. So his most favorable element is then, of course, water. And second, it would be wood, supporting himself, saying more of the same. The third would be fire. And the 4th would be earth, and the 5th would be metal. So he doesn't like metal and earth, and he likes water and wood, and fire is more or less neutral for him. So that's his chart. Now, looking back at things that have happened in his political life, because he's basically been a career politician. In 1996, he was first elected to the House of Representatives. So he became an MP, a Minister of Parliament. And when did that happen? That happened during his Yang Water Rat luck cycle. And that started in 1991. And as I said, people's luck pillars or their luck cycles, they cover 10-year blocks. 10-year blocks of your life is what it's divided in. And then we look at how that interacts with your chart. And of course, in reference to your day master, which is the stem of the day you're born. And in his case, it's Yang Wood. Okay, so in 1991, he entered Yang Water Rat cycle. And again, you see, water is his best element, his most favorable element. And the rat also combines with his dragon on his day pillar. And that is a half combination of water. So he's got plenty of water there. And so that's when he first got elected. And interestingly enough, 1996 was also a rat year. So there you go. Lots of water for him. So lots of support for him. And he got in to Parliament. Now, his next milestone would have been in 2007. And that's when he became a minister in both the Rudd and Gillard governments. And 2007, when was that? 2007, he was in the yin metal pig year. No, 2007, he was in the yin metal pig luck cycle. And first half of the cycle of the first 5 years would have been dominated by the metal, and second half would have been dominated by the pig. Now, so 2001 is when he started in. So add another 5 years would be 2006 when he started the pig year, and he got elected in 2000. Well, he didn't get elected. He got in as minister in 2007. Now, the pig. Why is that significant? Well, the pig, during that time that was the time that he got in as minister. The pig combines with either one of those rabbits, and that forms a half-wood combination. And there it goes again. Wood is actually one of his favourable elements, her water and wood. So there, that was luck for him as well. So, and you know what? 2007 was also a pig year. So you had 2 pigs with 2 rabbits there combining. So you had 2 half combinations of wood. So lots of wood for him. So great support and very favourable time. He became minister, a minister. Certainly fits in. Okay, now what was the next major milestone? And that was in 2022 when we had our last recent federal election. And that was when he became Prime Minister. And when did that happen? Well, going on to the next luck cycle, or the present luck cycle, he started it in 2021, which was a yin earth rooster year. Okay, now, you notice that it was yin earth, and yin earth, well, earth element is one of his unfavorable elements. However, that was a yang water tiger year. So he got additional water that year. So we don't always just look at the tiger. So we don't always just look at the luck cycle. We also look at the year as well. And tiger, besides that year, besides the yang water, the tiger actually combines. So what you've got is you've got a seasonal combination there. So you've got the tiger year, and then he's got dragon and rabbit in his chart. So all 3 of them combine and produce what we call a seasonal wood combination. And you must have all 3 at once to get that combination, and that produced wood. So you got water and wood that year. So that's more support. Okay. Now in the rooster luck cycle, rooster and dragon combines to produce metal. Okay. So metal for him is power. It's a power element for him. And it means problems. As you see, metal is his worst element, and also rooster is clashing with his 2 rabbits there. And especially you've got a competing combination as well. So with a rooster clashing the rabbits, that's giving him problems. As you can see, recently he tried to push through the voice, that referendum where they wanted to change the constitution to firstly recognise the Indigenous population and also give them a say in all legislation, as I understand it. And he spent over $400 million of taxpayers' money to campaign and advertise and push for that the yes vote to allow that. But that was soundly defeated. When people voted, the no was rejected. And that really hurt his image, and not only that, and to a certain extent, credibility. And also wasting taxpayers' money on something like this that goes nowhere, first of all, and it's something clearly that the Australian people do not want. They had their say, they do not want. They did not want. So those were problems for him. So what about the next election? Would he continue to stay on? Would he still have a chance and retain his seat as being Prime Minister? Well, in Australia, it's actually 3-year terms. Unlike in the US, where they've got the presidential terms are 4-year blocks, in Australia, Prime Ministers are 3 years. I don't know why they've done 3 years, because in the States, it's 4-year terms for the premiers, but federally, it's 3 years. I don't know why they've done it that way. I would have thought it would be the opposite, or at least being the same, simply because election costs money. It costs a lot of taxpayers' money to run. So I would have thought it made more sense to make them 4 years, at least the same, be the same as the state elections. But anyway, so if the last election happens in 2022, then obviously the next election will happen in 2025, next year. So will he win? Well, let's have a look at his chart. Now, next year, 2025, would be a yin-wood snake year. So what's going to happen? Like, look, the snake will combine with the rooster in his luck cycle. Okay, and that would create a partial metal combination. And that then you've got creates an issue in his chart because one, the rooster also clashes with the rabbit, and he's already wood there. And so he's going to get a competing combination with metal and also wood. So whenever you've got competing combinations of elements, that normally means trouble, friction, issues, and so forth. So what's going to happen, the rooster and the rabbit, because of the clash, he would end up with a hit to his reputation, as what happened with The Voice, when he lost that campaign that he was so passionately and trying to push that through. So he didn't come off very well after that debacle. So next year, though, it is yin wood snake. So I did say that wood is one of his best elements, a good element for him. So, and then you've got the snake. So what happens next year? You've got the first half of the year being wood and mostly wood, and second half of the year mostly governed by the snake. So if the election was held in the first half of the year where it's more wood, then he's got a bigger chance. However, if it's held in the second half of the year, or quite like in the middle of the year, then with the problems with the snake, he would probably lose. Because remember, metal is his worst element, and snake combining with the rooster is going to cause more metal. And yeah, with the rooster continuing to clash with his rabbits, not so good. So it doesn't look good for him to win the next election, to continue to be Prime Minister after next year. Either he would straight out lose the election if he's still leader of the Labour Party, or he might not be the leader of the Labour Party when election time comes around. If you all remember about Kevin Rudd, he was knifed in the back and had a leadership challenge and basically removed from it before. And so he didn't get to stand. And it's not a pleasant thing. But going on his chart, the information that we've got, that looks likely the case for him. I don't think he's that popular in Australia, unless it's the far left and the progressives that just happen to like Labor's leftist policies overall, and so they just accept him. But I think personally, look, he comes off as really boring in Australia. Okay, and if you look at him and the way he talks and so forth, you can probably understand why people think that he's boring. Really boring, because he is. He's boring. But, this is one of the advantages of an astrology reading. As you can clearly see, you can see where times in your chart, and the times are when you're strong. Okay, and so things likely went his way, as it's proven the point here, and also when it's unlikely to go your way. Now, that's very important and very powerful information, because generally, if things are going your way, in a strong period, things are going your way, that's when you can afford to take risks, especially if you're someone that's in business or very career-minded. If you knew, just like weather forecast, you know, to plan when you make your career moves, when to push for that promotion when you're in a strong period, because you'd likely be able to pull it off and be granted it. When you're having difficult conversations with your manager and so forth, like I say, pushing for promotions can also always come with a risk of being flatly denied, and then you kind of have the stain of being rejected, and then people think differently of you. If anyone's been in corporate, you know what I mean. And yeah, that's the sort of thing. Or change careers, or jump to another company. If you're not going anywhere where you are in your position, you're unlikely to advance because there's so many good people in front of you. Then if you've been considering going to another company where you might be able to leapfrog, then if you do it when you are strong, you're most likely to be able to pull it off. Or if you're in business, when you're likely to be able to start a business, if you're in strong period, you'll be able to push it to pull it off. Like everyone knows, lots of businesses fail. I think like 90% of businesses fail within the first few years. It's very risky. And so the best thing then is to check when you're going to be at your strong times, that means things go your way. And so your business has a much better chance of succeeding. Or if you want to expand your business, that's also risky, going to different markets or into different products or so forth, or opening new stores. If you do it in your strong period, hey, you're likely to be able to pull it off and succeed. So that's the reason why astrology can be a very powerful tool in your life to get ahead. Okay, and that's why people that of the mindset, very business mindset, or have career ambitions, it's always an extremely good idea to have an astrology reading and actually request a reading in those areas. So that's one of the big things with astrology that people don't realize, how much of an advantage it is in planning. And I guess even with, you see, politicians, when they're likely to get elected, if they've decided to really go for it and put themselves on the ballot or so forth, or even these leadership challenges as well, when they're likely to pull it off, or when the other person, I guess, is at their weaker point. And so if they're going to challenge them during that leader's weak period, then they're likely to succeed during that time because things go against that person. So you're likely to be able to remove that person. This is one of the other, you can say, other side of astrology and what it can be used for. So very, very extremely powerful tool. And for that, I recommend even, people generally just to know about what comes up, what's going to come up in their life. Just think about it. If you look back on your life and you think, okay, I was strong, things were really going well for me that time, but really poorly during this time, then if you had that knowledge all the way back then, you'll be able to plan accordingly, and you'll be able to avoid those pitfalls. So go for it and really push things to advance during your strong periods, and really during your weaker periods is keep the status quo, keep low, don't take any risks, so you minimize anything that could go wrong, because during the periods when you are weak, things that are likely to go wrong tend to go wrong. So you don't want to give them a chance for things to go wrong. So, that's the advantages of astrology and the readings. And you can book one with me on my website, missdragonfly.com.